Yo, what is up, everybody? It's your boy back at it again with another video, and let me tell you, this one is special. We're in Prague. This city is absolutely incredible. Beautiful architecture, delicious food, cheap beer. What more could you ask for? I'm going to take you guys on a wild ride through the city, show you the must-sees, the hidden gems, and everything in between. This is my ultimate Prague travel guide, so buckle up, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's do this. Alright guys, first up on our Prague adventure, we're hitting up the Charles Bridge. This iconic structure is a must-see for anyone visiting the city. This isn't just some bridge, okay, this is the bridge. It's a symbol of Prague and a testament to its rich history and culture. Built way back in the 1300s, it's older than time itself, or at least it feels that way. Imagine the countless stories and events this bridge has witnessed over the centuries. You walk across this thing and you're literally walking in the footsteps of kings and queens, emperors and revolutionaries. It's like stepping back in time. Seriously, the history here is insane. Each statue and stone has its own tale to tell, adding layers of intrigue and mystery. And the views, don't even get me started on the views, they're absolutely breathtaking, offering a panoramic glimpse of Prague's stunning skyline. You've got the Vltava River flowing beneath you, reflecting the sky and the city like a mirror. It's a sight that will leave you in awe. Then you look up and you see Prague Castle, perched on the hilltop like something out of a fairy tale. It's a view that feels almost magical. Now, the Charles Bridge can get pretty packed with tourists, especially during peak season, but that's part of its charm. But hey, that's all part of the experience, right? Embrace the chaos, soak up the energy. The street performers and vendors add to the lively atmosphere. Just don't blame me if you end up spending your entire souvenir budget on this bridge alone. The unique trinkets and keepsakes are hard to resist. All right, enough about the bridge. Let's move on to the next adventure. There's so much more to explore in this beautiful city. Guys, we made it to Prague Castle, and let me tell you, this place is huge, like seriously massive. It's not just a single building, it's a sprawling complex that feels like a small city. You could spend an entire day here and still not see everything. There are so many nooks and crannies to explore, each with its own unique story, but don't worry, I got you covered. I've done the legwork, so you don't have to. I'm going to show you the highlights, the hidden gems, and give you all the insider tips so you can make the most of your visit. From secret passageways to lesser-known viewpoints, there's so much to uncover. First things first, you've got to get a good view of the castle from afar. This will give you a sense of its grandeur and how it dominates the skyline. Trust me, it's worth it. The way the light hits the castle at different times of the day is simply magical. The way it sits up on that hilltop, overlooking the entire city, it's just breathtaking. You can see why it's one of the most iconic landmarks in Europe. We'll get some killer photos from here too. Now, let's head inside. There's so much more to see. We're talking ancient courtyards, towering cathedrals, and even a freaking golden lane where alchemists supposedly tried to turn lead into gold. It's like stepping back in time. I mean, how cool is that? Each corner of this place has a story to tell. This place is like a history nerd's dream come true. Artifacts, exhibitions, and centuries-old architecture are everywhere you look. And the best part, you can actually go inside many of the buildings. Imagine walking through halls that kings and queens once roamed. Just make sure you wear comfortable shoes, because you're going to be doing a lot of walking. Trust me, your feet will thank you later. Hold up, guys, we're in Old Town Square, and this place is like stepping back in time. Seriously, it's like something out of a medieval fairy tale. You've got cobblestone streets, colourful buildings, horse-drawn carriages, the whole 9 yards. The energy here is electric. There are street performers, musicians, artists, vendors selling all sorts of cool stuff. It's a sensory overload in the best possible way. Now, the main attraction here is obviously the astronomical clock. This thing is over 600 years old and it still tells time. Every hour on the hour, the clock puts on a little show with these figures that pop out and do their thing. It's pretty cool, but be prepared for a crowd. But honestly, half the fun of Old Town Square is just wandering around, getting lost in the maze of narrow streets and stumbling upon hidden courtyards and cafes. You never know what you're going to find. Trust me, your taste buds will thank you. Yo, check this out. We're inside St. Vitus Cathedral, one of the most iconic landmarks in Prague, and this place is absolutely mind-blowing. The sheer scale and detail are just incredible. Seriously, the architecture is insane. Every corner you turn, there's something new to marvel at. It's like this massive Gothic masterpiece with these towering ceilings, intricate stained glass windows that tell stories from centuries ago, and just an overall sense of grandeur that's hard to put into words. The craftsmanship is on another level. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm not exactly a history buff or anything, but even I can appreciate the artistry and craftsmanship that went into building this place. It's like stepping back in time. But even I can appreciate the artistry and craftsmanship that went into building this place. The details are just mind-blowing. I mean, they started construction in the 1300s, and it took over 600 years to complete. That's dedication right there. Imagine the generations of artisans who worked on this, and it took over 600 years to complete. That's dedication right there. Each era added its own touch, making it a living history book. But it's not just the history that makes this place special, it's the feeling you get when you're inside. It's almost like the walls are whispering stories of the past. It's the feeling you get when you're inside. It's like this sense of peace and tranquility, a sanctuary from the hustle and bustle outside. It's like this sense of peace and tranquility, even though you're surrounded by hundreds of other tourists. It's pretty wild. You can almost feel the centuries of prayers and reflections that have taken place here, even though you're surrounded by hundreds of other tourists. It's pretty wild. The atmosphere is just so serene. Oh, and make sure you check out the Royal Tomb. It's a hidden gem that many people miss. It's down in the crypt, and it's the final resting place for a bunch of Bohemian kings and emperors. It's like walking through a piece of history, and it's the final resting place for a bunch of Bohemian kings and emperors. The tombs are beautifully crafted and tell their own stories. It's pretty eerie down there, but definitely worth a visit. The atmosphere is so different from the main cathedral, almost otherworldly, but definitely worth a visit. It's a must-see for anyone interested in history or architecture. All right, guys, we're back at the astronomical clock, and it's about to do its thing. Now, I know I already mentioned this clock in the Old Town Square chapter, but trust me, it deserves its own segment. This thing is just that cool. So it's almost the top of the hour, which means the crowds are starting to gather. Everyone's pushing and shoving, trying to get a good spot to see the show. It's kind of chaotic, but hey, that's all part of the fun, right? And there it is. The clock starts to chime, the figures start moving, and everyone goes wild. It's actually pretty impressive, especially when you consider how old this thing is, plus it's a great excuse to people watch. Alright guys, we're in Wenceslas Square, and this place is a whole different vibe from Old Town Square. It's more modern, more bustling, more city-like. But that's not a bad thing, it's got its own unique charm. This is like the heart of modern Prague. You got shops, restaurants, cafes, museums, theatres, everything you could possibly want. It's the perfect place to just wander around and soak up the energy of the city. Now the square itself is actually pretty huge. It's more like a long boulevard than a square, and it's named after St. Wenceslas, the patron saint of Bohemia. There's a big statue of him at the top of the square riding his trusty steed. Yo, check this out. It's the dancing house. This building is wild. It's like something out of a Salvador Dali painting. It's all curvy and distorted, like it's melting in the sun. Now, I know what you're thinking, Casey, that building is hideous, and you know what, you might be right. But that's what makes it so cool. It's different, it's unique, it's not afraid to stand out from the crowd. The dancing house was designed by this famous architect, Frank Gehry, and it's supposed to represent the dancing couple Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. Alright guys, we made it to the top of Petrine Hill, and let me tell you, the view from up here is absolutely incredible. You can see the entire city of Prague all the way to the horizon. It's breathtaking. Now you can get to the top of the hill a few different ways. You can hike up, which is a good workout, or you can take the funicular, which is basically like a cable car. I recommend the funicular because it gives you more time to enjoy the views. Once you're at the top, there's a bunch of cool stuff to see. There's the Petrin Lookout Tower, which is like a mini Eiffel Tower. Yo guys, check it out. We're in Vyšehrad, and this place is like stepping back in time. It's this historic fort that sits on a hilltop overlooking the Vltava River, and it's got this really cool ancient vibe. Now, Vyšehrad isn't as popular as some of the other attractions in Prague, which is actually kind of nice. It means it's less crowded and you can really soak up the atmosphere. There's a bunch of cool stuff to see here. including the Vyšehrad Cemetery, where a lot of famous Czech figures are buried. It's actually a really beautiful cemetery with all these ornate tombs and monuments. There's also the Basilica of St. Peter and St. Paul, which is this stunning neo-Gothic church. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can explore the old casemates, which are these underground tunnels that were used for defense. Alright guys, we're at the Lennon Wall, and this place is something else. It's this wall that's been covered in John Lennon-inspired graffiti and messages of peace and love since the 1980s. Now, the wall itself isn't actually that impressive. It's just a regular brick wall, but it's what it represents that makes it so special. It's a symbol of hope, of freedom, of the power of music and art to bring people together. The wall is constantly changing as people add their own messages and artwork. It's a really cool, organic expression of creativity, and it's definitely worth a visit. So there you have it, guys, my top 10 things to do in Prague. I hope you enjoyed this whirlwind tour of this amazing city. From the historic Charles Bridge to the quirky dancing house, Prague has something to offer everyone. If you're planning a trip to Europe, make sure you add Prague to your itinerary. And as always, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more travel adventures.